Good morning and a very happy Friday to you, wherever you are in the world. I'm just finding my page. Oh yeah, I've woken up wanting to read. I had a lovely evening last night, dancing on Hampstead Heath. That was fun. Still, I don't know, feeling slightly still like the world is very, very crazy and needing to find a way to feel okay and calm amidst all of the weirdness and confusion and chaos that is going on. Did my 10 minutes meditation this morning. I actually got up for it though. I didn't do it in bed, which was good. But I still feel very, yeah, I don't know what the word is for how I feel about the world right now. Tired, confused, angry, overwhelmed, all of those things. So I thought the best thing I can do is probably read with you guys, because it always sends me into a lovely place. As ever, we're reading this book and you can jump in at any chapter. It's lovely. It's full of quotes from Buddhist monks. And we're speeding on, guys. We're on to part 3 of, I don't know how many, but I think we're about halfway through, and this is the main path now. So the other bits were, preliminary and getting ready for the main path. So this chapter I'm very excited about. Chapter 11 is called Understanding the Nature of Mind. So yeah, I want to understand the nature of mind from a Buddhist perspective. I personally, at the moment, am feeling like our true nature of mind is conscious awareness. Who knows what that really is, but that's what I feel when I meditate, is that everything else drops away. I can see my thoughts, so I know I'm not my thoughts, and that what is left is this awareness, this consciousness, which doesn't really have a thing. It's not material. And therefore maybe I'm not material and I'm just encased in this body. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I think I'm wise enough to know that I don't really know anything. So let's see what the Buddhists say. This is chapter 11, Understanding the Nature of the Mind. When the mind looks at itself, what can it learn about its own nature? The first thing that becomes apparent is that countless thoughts prompted by our feelings, our memories, and our imagination constantly rush through our mind, almost without our knowledge. But is there not also a basic consciousness, always present behind this movement, even in the absence of thoughts? A presence that could be called the fundamental ability of the mind to know or to be conscious. As thoughts arise, if we look at them closely, can we pin down any characteristic or attribute or any real existence to them? Where are they located? Do they have a colour or a shape? However hard you look, you will not find anything else in the end but the bare faculty of knowing that we have just mentioned. You will find nothing intrinsically real. It is in this sense that Buddhism says that the mind is empty of independent existence. How can we make use of this notion of the emptiness of thoughts? When a thought or an emotion such as anger arises in our mind, what usually happens? We let ourselves be overwhelmed by it. The thoughts grow and give rise to many other thoughts that disturb us, blind us, and encourage us to say and do certain things which may be violent, which may hurt others, and which we will probably come to regret. Now it is possible to examine the thoughts before they proliferate, instead of letting this chain reaction occur. Then we will realize that those thoughts and emotions do not have the solid reality that we have imagined, and it will be possible to break free from their grip. If we can see that thoughts arise from pure awareness, the nature of mind, then dissolve back into it, like waves rising from and falling back into the ocean, it will be a big step toward inner peace, because thoughts will have lost much of their power to harm. This is from Diljo Khyentse Rinpoche. What we normally call the mind is the deluded mind, a turbulent vortex of thoughts whipped up by attachment, anger, and ignorance. This mind, unlike enlightened awareness, is always being carried away by one delusion or another. Thoughts of hatred or attachment suddenly arise without warning, triggered by such circumstances as an unexpected meeting with an enemy or a friend, and unless they are immediately overpowered with the proper antidote, they quickly take root and proliferate, reinforcing the habitual predominance of hatred or attachment in the mind, and adding more and more karmic patterns. Yet, however strong these thoughts may seem, they are just thoughts and will eventually dissolve back into emptiness. Once you recognize the intrinsic nature of the mind, these thoughts that seem to appear and disappear all the time can no longer fool you. Just as clouds form, last for a while, and then dissolve back into the empty sky, so deluded thoughts arise, remain for a while, and then vanish in the voidness of mind. In reality, nothing at all has happened. When sunlight falls on a crystal, lights of all colours of the rainbow appear, yet they have no substance that you can grasp. Likewise, all thoughts in their infinite variety, devotion, compassion, harmfulness, desire, are utterly without substance. There is no thought that is something other than voidness. If you recognize the void nature of thoughts at the very moment they arise, they will dissolve. Attachment and hatred will never be able to disturb the mind. Deluded emotions will collapse by themselves. No negative actions will be accumulated, so no suffering will follow. This is also from Diljo Khyentse Rinpoche. The mind has, in general, two aspects: stillness and movement. Sometimes the mind is quiet and free from thoughts, like a calm pool. This is stillness. Eventually, thoughts are bound to arise in it. This is movement. In truth, however, although in a sense there is a movement of thoughts within the stillness, there is actually no difference between these two states. Just as the nature of stillness is voidness, the nature of movement is also voidness. Stillness and movement are merely two names for the one mind. Most of the time we are unaware of our state of mind and pay no attention to whether the mind is still or moving. While you are meditating, a thought might arise in your mind, the idea of going shopping, for instance. If you are aware of the thought and just let it dissolve by itself, then that is the end of it. But if you remain unaware of what is happening and let that thought grow and develop, it will lead on to a second thought, the thought of having a break from your practice, and in no time at all you will find yourself actually getting up and going out to the market. Soon, many more thoughts and ideas will arise, how you are going to buy this, sell that, and so forth. By this point you will be a very long way from your meditation. It is completely natural that thoughts keep on arising. The point is not to try to stop them, which would be impossible anyway, but to liberate them. This is done by reimagining in a state of simplicity, which lets thoughts arise and vanish again without This is done by remaining in a state of simplicity, which lets thoughts arise and vanish again without stringing onto them any further thoughts. When you no longer perpetuate the movement of thoughts, they dissolve by themselves without leaving any trace. When you no longer spoil the state of stillness with mental fabrications, you can maintain the natural serenity of mind without any effort. Sometimes, let your thoughts flow and watch the unchanging nature behind them. Sometimes, abruptly cutting the flow of thoughts, look at naked awareness. Innumerable thoughts and memories, stirred up by the tendencies to which we have become habituated, arise in the mind. One after the other, each thought seems to vanish into the past, only to be replaced as the next, in its turn, becomes fleetingly present to the mind before itself giving way to future thoughts. Each thought tends to pick up the momentum of the one before it, so that the influence of a string of thoughts grows as time passes. This is called the chain of delusion. Just as what we call a rosary is in fact a string of single beads, so also what we usually call the mind is really a succession of momentary thoughts. A trickle of thoughts makes the stream of consciousness, the mind stream, and the mind stream leads on to the ocean of existence. Our belief that the mind is a real entity is a conclusion based on insufficient investigation. We believe a river we see today to be the same river we saw yesterday, but in reality a river never stays the same even for a second. The water that made up yesterday's river will surely be part of the ocean by now. The same is true for the countless thoughts that run through our mind from morning to evening. Our mind stream is just a succession of instantaneous thoughts. There is no separate entity that you can point out as being a mind. Now, if we analyze the thought process carefully, it becomes evident that past thoughts are already dead, like a corpse. Future thoughts have not yet been born. As for present thoughts, they cannot be said to have any properties such as location, color, or shape. They leave no traces, and indeed they are nowhere to be found. In fact, there could be no possible point of contact between past, present, and future thoughts. If there were any real continuity between, for instance, a past thought and a present thought, that would necessarily mean either that the past thought is present or that the present thought is past. If the past really could extend to the present in this way, it would also follow that the future must already be present. But nevertheless, ignorant of the true nature of thoughts, we maintain the habit of seeing them as being continuously linked, one after another. This is the root of delusion. And this is what allows us to be more and more dominated by our thoughts and emotions until total confusion reigns. It is of vital importance to be aware of the arising of thoughts and to still the waves of thoughts that assail you. Anger, for instance, is an extremely destructive tendency which spoils all the good qualities you may otherwise have. No one enjoys the company of an angry person. There is nothing inherently very frightening about the appearance of snakes, but because they are generally very aggressive, the mere sight of them inspires fear and loathing. Whether in a human or a snake, such a preponderance of anger is nothing more than the outcome of an unchecked accumulation of negative thoughts. If at the very moment an angry thought arises, you recognize it for what it is and understand how negative it is, your anger will calm down of its own accord, and you will always be able to stay on good terms with everyone. On the other hand, if you let that first angry thought give rise to a second angry thought, in no time at all, your anger will completely be out of control, and you will be ready even to risk your life to destroy your adversary. This is from Mipan Rinpoche. Homage to the precious master Manjarishi. Happiness and suffering depend upon the mind. We may suffer at the death of one we call son. We may rejoice at the death of one we call enemy. Yet suffering and joy do not belong to external objects. Those who cherish their body protect it. Those who are not attached are willing to offer it. Those who have no patience with themselves and others are irritated by a simple thorn. The sage, who holds on to nothing, has no fear even of hellfire. Everything depends on the mind, which in turn obeys the thoughts that come from its own habits. Thus, it is buffeted by endless myriads of concepts, pleasures, and sufferings. Alas, if we observe how this lost mind works, when it is happy, it becomes arrogant and its desires multiply. When it suffers, it loses courage and wants to be happy. Whatever happens to it, it never takes the path of lasting happiness. Alas, it wanders endlessly in suffering. Who can count the number of thoughts in just one day, one after another, like ripples on the water? Exhausted with vain concepts of rejection and appropriation by hopes and fears, it buys its own suffering. This inner conversation that we are powerless to stop goes round and round like a wheel. Its root is the belief in duality. Without it, there would be no mental constructs. These constructs spawn mistaken thoughts, the arrogance of the ego arises, and an endless web of thoughts, pursuing pleasure and refusing suffering, is woven continuously, even into our dreams. Would I not be better to set down the useless burden of these troubles that no one imposes on me, but I inflict on myself? This is Niendrak Lungrig Nyima. Although subject and object are not two, they appear to us as fundamentally distinct entities, and through attachment to them, we further strengthen this tendency. Samsara is nothing else but that. While good and bad actions are devoid of true reality, by the power of our intention they produce joys and sorrows, just as seeds of sweet or bitter plants give fruits of corresponding taste. Thus, the world appears similarly to those with common karma, and differently to those whose karma is different. In fact, even if one goes to hell or elsewhere, it is only a change in one's perception of the world, as in dreams, where the things that appear do not exist. The root of all our illusory perceptions is the mind. The nature of mind transcends the notions of existence and non-existence, eternity and nothingness. To this nature is given the simple name, absolute space. That space, in itself perfectly pure, that immaculate sky, empty and luminous, with no centre or periphery, has always been in the heart of every being, its face obscured by the temporary veil of mental constructs. It is hard to put an end by force to the continuous chain of thoughts, but if, when they occur, their nature is recognized, thoughts have no choice but to be liberated in their own sphere. Without pursuing past thoughts or inviting future thoughts, remain in the present moment and simply recognize the nature of whatever arises in your mind. Relax in simplicity, free of intentions and attachments. Although there is nothing to meditate on, remain fully present without getting distracted. By getting used to the way things occur of themselves, without altering anything, primordial wisdom, self-luminous, will arise from within. How is this so, you might ask? If you leave cloudy water undisturbed, it will naturally become clear. Most other meditations are only temporary ways to calm the mind. The space of great unchanging emptiness and the simple luminosity of uninterrupted wakeful presence have always been inseparable. You must yourself experience that essential thing which is within you. No one can do it for you. It's lovely. This is again Diljo Khyentse Rinpoche. He has a lot to say on the true nature of the mind. Just move my foot. Right. When you feel hatred towards someone, your hatred and anger are not in any way something inherent either to that person as a whole or to any aspect of him. Your anger only exists in your own mind. As soon as you glimpse him or her, your thoughts dwell on all the times they brought harm to you in the past, how they might harm you in the future, or what they are doing to harm you now. Even hearing their name upsets you. As you become fixated on these thoughts, full-blown hatred develops, and at that point you feel an irresistible urge to pick up a stone and throw it at them, or grab something with which to strike them. Anger might seem extremely strong, yeah, but where does it get the power to overwhelm you so easily? Is it some external force, something with arms and legs, weapons and armor? If not, then is it somewhere inside you? If so, where is it? Can you find it in your brain, in your heart, in your bones, or in any other part of you? Impossible though it is to locate, anger does seem to be present in a very concrete way, as a strong clinging that freezes your mind into a state of solidity and brings a great deal of suffering both to yourself and to others. Just as clouds, which are insubstantial and cannot support weight or be worn as clothing, can nevertheless darken the whole sky and cover the sun, in the same way thoughts can obscure the pristine radiance of awareness. By recognizing the void, transparent nature of mind, let it return to its natural state of freedom. If you recognize the nature of anger as void, it loses all power to harm. Very good. This is Mipam Rinpoche. The nature of mind, essential instructions in 3 points. The natural simplicity of mind is inexpressible, free and vast. It must be recognized by itself. When all mental fabrication, all conceptualization, and all attachments disappear naturally, we call that recognizing the essence of mind. Once freed from the net of thoughts, not losing the continuity of the presence of the primordial nature, without acting or making effort, without seeking anything, we call that preserving meditation. When, like clouds in the sky, the waves of many thoughts neither harm nor benefit the mind, which remains serene, we call that liberating the mind in its own nature. These 3 essential instructions will be understood by meditators who cultivate inner experience, but will be incomprehensible to garrulous intellectuals. Okay, this is from Shabkar. Spontaneously luminous simplicity, it's just that. How can you say you don't see your mind as being the Buddha? There is nothing to cultivate, so how can you say, I haven't practiced much? This awakened mind, clearly manifest, it's just that. How can you claim that you can't find your mind? This uninterrupted, limpid clarity, it's just that. How can you claim that you don't see the essence of your mind? Once established in that nature, there's nothing at all to do. How can you claim you can't do it? If there's no more duality between rest and movement, how can you claim you can't remain in it? In the awakened state, born of itself, the 3 aspects of Buddhahood are spontaneously accomplished without effort. How can you claim you can't accomplish them by practice? You should just remain in non-action. How can you claim you can't do it? Thoughts arise and are liberated simultaneously. How can you claim that this remedy escapes you? This awareness of the present moment, it's just that. How can you claim you can't recognize it? Just reading that second to last. Thoughts arise and are liberated simultaneously. How can you claim that this remedy escapes you? I'm guessing they mean during meditation when you see the thought and then it's liberated. That is the remedy. Okay, this is from Diljo Khyentse Rinpoche again. If you overcome the belief in a truly existing self today, you will be enlightened today. If you overcome it tomorrow, you will be enlightened tomorrow. But if you never overcome it, you will never gain enlightenment. This I is just a thought, a feeling. A thought does not intrinsically possess any solidity, form, shape, or colour. For example, when a strong feeling of anger arises in the mind with such force that you want to fight and destroy someone, is the angry thought holding a weapon in its hand? Could it lead an army? Might it burn anyone like a fire, crush them like a stone, or carry them away like a raging river? No. Anger, like any other thought or feeling, has no true existence. It cannot even be definitely localized anywhere in your body, speech, or mind. It is like wind in empty space. Instead of allowing such wild thoughts to determine what you do, look at their essential emptiness. Once you overcome the hatred within your own mind, you will discover that in the world outside, there is no longer any such thing as even a single enemy. But if you keep giving free rein to your feelings of hatred and try to overcome your outer adversaries, you will find that however many of them you manage to defeat, there will always be more to take their place. Even if you could subjugate all the beings in the universe, your anger would only grow stronger. You will never be able to deal with it properly by indulging it. Examine anger itself and you will find that it is nothing but a thought. If that angry thought disappears, it will not lead to an action done in anger, with its negative karmic results. Trample on anger with realization, and it dissolves like a cloud in the sky. And as it dissolves, the notion of enemy will vanish with it. In essence, the mind is what is aware of everything. It is a clarity that perceives all external objects and events. But try to find it, and it turns out to be as impossible to grasp and as elusive as a rainbow. The more you run after it, the farther away it appears to recede. The more you look at it, the less you can find. This is the empty aspect of the mind. Clarity and emptiness are inseparably united in the true nature of mind, which is beyond all concepts of existence and non-existence. At the moment, the natural clarity of your mind is obscured by delusions, but as this obscuration clears, you will begin to uncover the radiance of awareness, until you reach the point where, just as a drawing on water disappears the moment it is made, your thoughts are liberated the moment they arise. To experience mind in this way is to encounter the very source of Buddhahood, the practice of the fourth empowerment. When the nature of mind is recognized, it is called nirvana. When it is obscured by delusion, it is called samsara. Yet neither samsara nor nirvana has ever departed from the continuum of the absolute. When realization of awareness reaches its full extent, the ramparts of delusion will have been breached, and the citadel of Dharmakaya beyond meditation can be seized once and for all. So that word, Dharmakaya, is the absolute dimension of the state of Buddhahood beyond all concepts. Okay. Here, there is no longer any distinction between meditation and post-meditation, and experience is effortlessly stabilized. This is non-meditation. In the limitless expanse of Dharmakaya, recite the 6-syllable mantra. I don't know what that mantra is, maybe we'll find out. I'm just processing as we read. Okay, this is from Shabka. All the phenomena of samsara and nirvana, what appears and what exists, are no more than rainbows in an empty sky, which appear through a conjunction of causes and conditions. No matter how they may appear, they are nothing in themselves. They arise as embellishing ornaments for a skyline nature of mind, wondrous. Mind. It has no colour, it has no shape. Look for it, it cannot be found at all. Emptiness. Leave mind just as it is. Vivid clarity. Immaculate, empty, like the infinite sky, let mind remain in that very state, and let it be, raw, brilliant, awake, never obscured, utterly transparent. Leave mind at ease, open, without aim. When mind merges with that state, which, like space, is all-encompassing, all phenomena are understood with utter clarity, and all the enlightened qualities of the various paths and stages arise. Boundless compassion is born toward beings who lack such realization. Through such training in emptiness and compassion, benefit for other beings naturally occurs. May void, primordial wakefulness, immaculate as the sky, actually arise, vivid, free of obscuration, in the mind streams of those who hear this song. Very good. This is again from Diljo Gyatso Rinpoche. He has a lot to say on the nature of the mind, but I'm loving it so far. I hope you are too. And we are nearing the end of the chapter, so hang on in there. To take the uncreated stronghold of the nature of mind, you have to go to the source and recognize the very origin of your thoughts. Otherwise, one thought will give rise to a second, then a third, and so on. In no time you will be assailed by memories of the past and anticipation of the future, and the pure awareness of the present moment will be completely obscured. If you recognize the emptiness of your thoughts instead of solidifying them, the arising and subsiding of each thought will clarify and strengthen your realization of emptiness. It is our own mind that leads us astray into the cycle of existence. Blind to the mind's true nature, we fixate on our thoughts, which in truth are simply the manifestations of that nature. But through fixation, pure awareness is frozen into solid concepts such as self and other, desirable and repulsive, and many more. That is how we create samsara. Lakes and rivers can freeze in winter, and the water can become so solid that people, animals, and carts travel back and forth on its surface. At the approach of spring, the earth warms up, and the waters thaw. What remains then of all that solid ice? Water is soft and fluid, ice hard and sharp. We cannot say that they are identical, but neither are they different. Ice is only frozen water, and water is only melted ice. It is the same with our preconceptions of the external world. To be attached to the reality of phenomena, tormented by attraction and repulsion, and obsessed by the 8 worldly preoccupations, is what causes the mind to freeze. Melt the ice of your concepts so that the fluid water of free perception can flow. Everything we experience, all the phenomena of samsara and nirvana, appears with the vivid clarity of a rainbow, and yet, like a rainbow, is devoid of any tangible reality. Once you recognize the nature of phenomena, manifest and at the same time empty, your mind will be freed from the tyranny of delusion. To recognize the ultimate nature of the mind is to realize the state of Buddhahood, and to fail to recognize it is to sink into ignorance. In either case, it is your mind, and your mind alone, that liberates or binds you. If you allow your thoughts and feelings to arise and dissolve by themselves, they will pass through your mind in the same way that a bird flies through the sky, without leaving any trace. This applies not only to attachment and anger, but also to the experiences of meditation, bliss, clarity, and absence of thought. Those experiences result from perseverance in practice, and are the expression of the inherent creativity of the mind. They appear like a rainbow, formed as the rays of the sun strike a curtain of rain, and to become attached to them is as futile as it would be to run after a rainbow in the hopes of wearing it as a coat. Simply allow your thoughts and experiences to come and go, without ever grasping at them. Maintain that state of simplicity. Should you encounter happiness, success, and other favorable conditions, take them like a dream or an illusion. Do not get attached to them. And should you be struck by illness, calumny, or other trials, physical or mental, do not let yourself be discouraged. Rekindle your compassion by wishing that through your own suffering, the sufferings of all beings might be exhausted. Sorry, it's a very loud plane. I'm going to say that sentence again because it's really, really good. All right. All right. So if you should be struck by illness, calumny, or other trials, physical or mental, do not let yourself be discouraged. Rekindle your compassion by wishing that through your own suffering, the sufferings of all beings might be exhausted. Whatever the circumstances, do not either get elated or depressed, but remain free and at ease in imperturbable serenity. I did not say that word right. Imperturbable. Whatever the circumstances, do not either get elated or depressed, but remain free and at ease in imperturbable serenity. So when we are suffering, whether we're ill or it's not physical, we can do an affirmation and intention for that to relieve other people's suffering. Very nice. This is from Minling Tertian Gyurme Dorje. At the request of his spiritual son, Ozel Tenzin, Gyurme Dorje wove this garland of words as they came to his mind. Namo Guru I shall start again. Namo Guru Ratnaya, homage to the precious master. Awareness, born of itself, is primordially pure. It does not come or go. There is nothing to be added to it or taken away. Leave alone whatever may arise in it, like the reflections of the moon in water. Examine the essence of whatever thoughts and adverse circumstances may arise, and see them continuously as waves, constantly falling back into the ocean. Watch out with the greatest vigilance for harmful or unvirtuous actions, choosing without error what to do or not to do, and thus create your own happiness. Since the three jewels know whatever you do, say, or think, cut without hypocrisy the attachments that you yourself have woven, and in doing so, do something worthwhile. The joys and sorrows of the illusory world are like dreams and mirages. Letting them evaporate by themselves, cut the web of belief in a solid reality. Phenomena of any kind are the play of the ultimate nature. When you have abolished discrimination between good and bad, dualistic attachment, the source of hopes and fears, is like a thief in an empty house. In short, meditate without distraction to realize the natural state free of mental constructs, and accord all your actions with the Dharma, taking your inspiration from the lives of the sages of the past. Like trying to read all like spiritual and relaxed and quiet, and then there's just noise, so I have to be an actor and project. Right, this is from last little bit. This is from Gyalwa Gotsangpa Gonpo Dorje, his last words. My mind is like space, without birth and death. Like space, mind has no center or periphery. Like space, mind is not bound or liberated. Like space, mind has neither high nor low. So, there's an asterisk there, and it says, from the absolute point of view, the mind has never really been chained by ignorance, because its fundamental nature, which is pure enlightenment, is unalterable. Thus, when the veil that masks this nature disappears, the mind is not really freed, since it was never really enslaved. Having said this, Gotsangpa remained in equanimity in the natural luminosity of mind itself, the space-like absolute dimension, and left this world. This is Patrul Rinpoche. This story about Patrul Rinpoche was told to the translator by Nyu Shulken Rinpoche. Introduction to the nature of mind. In a mountain meadow, Patrul Rinpoche was sleeping under the stars in the company of his disciple, Nyushul Longtok, when suddenly he said to him, "Didn't you tell me that you still haven't recognized the true nature of mind?" "That's right. It's not difficult." He asked him to come and lie down beside him. Longtok lay on his back and stared at the sky. Patrul Rinpoche spoke. "Do you hear the monastery dogs barking?" "Yes." "Do you see the stars shining?" "Yes." "Well, the nature of mind is that." Instantly, Nyushul Longtok saw the nature of his mind, the coming together of his years of meditation, the master's presence, and that particular moment had led to this culmination of his inner realization. End of chapter 10. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but those little stories always just make me laugh because I don't quite get them. But there you go. That was the true nature of the mind. Hi, Christian. Ooh, I hope that you enjoyed that. Thanks for tuning in. I really, really enjoyed it. It just further confirmed to me sort of how I feel about the mind, and it's just through meditation. Just everything drops away, but then, like they say, that you can't grab the mind. It's almost like it's linked to another dimension. It's something otherworldly that is then feeds into us and into this physical body, and then we get to experience this physical reality. Yeah, it's coming from somewhere else, in my opinion. Yeah, it's so funny. When I started this video, I was going to talk about like what's going on at the moment, because my YouTube channel is also partly just a little video diary for me during lockdown, and I had been feeling really sort of It's just from being on social media too much, just stressed about all the issues in the world and feeling guilty about not doing activism anymore with XR. And you know, I'm just sort of pursuing having fun with friends, just going outside while it's summer, you know, camping. World is so weird at the moment. We've got mandatory mask wearing from today in all shops, in banks. I'm not saying that's weird, so please don't take me the wrong way on that. Just the world is weird, right? The fact that we're having to wear masks is weird. Obviously the reasons are to protect people, but it is a crazy old world. And then when I heard, I think that's what tipped me over the edge, you know, a little thing can just tip you over the edge. It's like, oh, you have to wear masks everywhere to protect everyone, fine. But if you're getting a takeaway, you can go in and not wear a mask. So you can go in, line up near people, be around people, and not wear a mask. Doesn't make any sense. Obviously, it's one of many, many things that doesn't make sense. Yeah, that just tipped me over the edge yesterday. I was just like, okay, cool, fine. But no biggie. You know, I'm sure they'll work it out. You know, everything is being worked out as we go with this. But yes, I'm glad that I'm doing a daily meditation practice at the moment. It's only 10 minutes, but that with this is really grounding. Just kind of learning about what Buddhists think and reading out poetry. It's really lovely. So thank you so much for listening. My YouTube is Mr. Tamarin. I don't know why it's Mr. Tamarin. They just chose it for me. If you want to donate to any of the causes that are on there. Yeah, keep it real. I hope you're all well. If you're not well right now, I hope you're okay, and I hope you get better soon. And I always just want to say that you are amazing conscious beings. We have consciousness, and we are very powerful, and you do with that what you will, but I just want to spread that message to everyone. Okay, have a lovely day. See you later.